Hi, everyone. We're so thrilled to be here from Penguin Random House to present some amazing fall titles to add to your libraries and to your TBR piles. Um, I'm Jen Childs from Penguin Random House Library, and I'm joined by my colleagues Kelly Coyle Crivelli and Erica Melnichuk. And we are here to share some of our top fall reads with you. As you can see on the screen, we have a little key just so you'll know our books are available in many formats. And you can see under each title, it will let you know if they're available in hardcover, trade, large print, ebook, downloadable audio, or audio CD. Also, we wanted to share some of our book club resources with you. You can visit our issue page, which is listed here on the screen. Here you'll get a wide variety of book club brochures for reads for any type of book club, as well as book club kits, which have expanded information, including discussion questions, amazing drink recipes, Q&As with the author, kind of everything that you would want to host an amazing book club event. So please visit our issue page, PRH Library.
A couple of other things you'll find on our issue page are reading samplers, excerpt samplers, book club guides. We have a fun reading challenge for 2020, and we know we're a little bit past halfway this year. We still do have a fun reading challenge up there for reading 20 books in 2020 in all different genres.
So it's never too late to start.
Never too late. And also there's lots of extra time to read right now, so you can catch up. But it's on our issue page as well. So if you go on there, you'll find a lot of really fun resources for your book clubs.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica Melnichuk, and I'm so glad to be buzzing with you today about titles that we're excited about. And if you have fun with us here, you can catch us at our morning book buzz every Wednesday morning, where we talk about even more books that we're excited to be publishing, coming out now and in the near future. So you'll be in the know for your holds lists. And we also archive each episode on our YouTube channel. So if you can't catch us live, go back to our YouTube page anytime and watch at your leisure. And now for some books. We'll dive right in. Our first title today is debut novel, 50 Words for Rain. The child of a married Japanese aristocrat and her African-American GI lover, Nori is an outsider from birth. The plot is driven by the bigotry she experiences as an outsider in a very traditional culture. Though her grandparents take her in, they do so only to conceal her, fearful of a stain on the royal pedigree that they are desperate to uphold in a changing Japan. Obedient to a fault, Nori accepts her solitary life for what it is, despite her natural intellect and nagging curiosity about what lies outside the attic's walls. But when chance brings her legitimate older half-brother to the estate that is his inheritance and destiny, Nori finds in him the first person who will allow her to question all of her life, and the siblings form an unlikely but powerful bond. Spanning decades and continents, 50 Words for Rain is a dazzling epic about the ties that bind, the ties that give you strength, and what it means to try to break free. Recommended for readers of culturally rich historical fiction like Pachinko and White Chrysanthemum and The Piano Teacher. And in some audio news, 50 Words for Rain will be read by a full cast, which really elevates the reading experience and makes it more cinematic when you have a lot of voice talent bringing the characters to life.
Next up for me, and I don't know if I introduced myself before, I can't remember. I'm Kelly Coyle Crivelli. Thank you for joining us today. We love talking about books, good for book clubs. I wanted to point out one for you from Crooked Lane. Crooked Lane Books is starting a new imprint in the fall called Alcove Press, where they're going to be focusing on some really strong, really exciting, fresh, coming-of-age women's fiction titles. And Every Now and Then is one of the first titles coming from that publisher. This is fans. We know a lot of you all loved Where the Crawdads Sing, and we want you to have something to read after that you love just as much. So for the fans of Where the Crawdads Sing in This Tender Land comes a heartfelt story about three young girls wishing for adventures during the summer of 1960 from the New York Times bestselling author of Whistling in the Dark. That summer would change us forever. It's the summer of 1960, and it was the hottest summer on record for Summit, Wisconsin. For the kids seeking relief from the heat, there was a creek to be swum in, sprinklers to run through, and ice cream at Whitcomb's drugstore. Sounds wonderful. But for Frankie, Viv, and Biz, 11-year-old best friends, it would forever be remembered as the summer that evil paid a visit to their small town and took their young lives as they'd known them as a souvenir. With a to-do list in hand, the girls set forth from their hideout to make their mark on that summer. But when three patients escape from the Broadhurst Mental Institution, their idyllic lives take a sinister turn. Determined to uncover long-held secrets, the girls have no idea what they discovered could cost them their lives and the ones they hold dear. Now, six decades later, Biz, now a best-selling novelist, remembers that long ago summer and how it still haunts her and her lifelong friends. In every now and then, a story about the ties that bind us, the timelessness of grief and guilt, and the everlasting hope for redemption. This will give your book clubs a lot to talk about. No Heaven for Good Boys. I love the description of this title. It's the modern day Oliver Twist, which sounds really interesting to me. It's set in Senegal. It's a meditation on the power of love and the strength that can emerge when we have no other choice but to survive. The best-selling author of Dear Edward, Ann Napolitano, said, "I loved this book because it is a story about generations of parents and children saving one another with a love so powerful that it transcends distance, time, and reason." 6-year-old Abrahami loves snatching pastries from his mother's kitchen, harvesting string beans with his father, and searching for sea glass with his sisters. But when he is approached in his rural village one day by Marabout Ahmed, a seemingly kind stranger and highly regarded teacher, the tides of his life turn forever. Abrahami is sent to the capital city of Dakar to join his cousin in studying the Quran under Marabout Ahmed for a year. But instead of the days of learning that Abrahami's parents imagine, the young boys, called Talibib, are forced to beg in the streets in order to line their teachers' pockets. To make it back home, Adetine and Abrahami must help each other survive both the dangers posed by their teacher and the darker sides of Dakar. Threats of black market organ traders, rival packs of Talibib, and mountain student protesting on the streets. It's drawn from real incidents and transporting readers between rural and urban Senegal. No Heaven for Good Boys is a tale of hope, resilience, and the reaffirming power of love.
In Finding Latinx, debut author and journalist Paula Ramos travels to near and far corners of the country in search of Latinx voices that illustrate a growing movement and represent a community of young Latinos that hold more political, social, and cultural relevance today than ever before. Latinos are the youngest demographic in the country, with an estimated 32.5 million millennials and Gen Zers across the country. 10 out of 6 Latinos are millennials or younger, and every single year, 1 million Latinos turn 18. Latinx, in search of the voices redefining Latino identity, will take millions of young Latinos, including the author herself, on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment, shedding light on the voices that have been brewing yet overlooked for years. From Afro-Latinos to trans-Latinos, border town Latinos to the young Cuban Americans in Miami, this book will give life to the cryptic term Latinx. This will be a simultaneous publication in English and Spanish. Next up, perfect for book groups, from the beloved author Fannie Flagg. This is a heartwarming standalone novel about secrets of youth rediscovered, hometown memories, and the magical moments in ordinary lives, from the beloved author of Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. Bud Threadgood grew up in the bustling little railroad town of Whistle Stop with his mother, Ruth, church-going and proper, and his Aunt Idgie, the fun-loving hellraiser. Together they ran the town's popular Whistle Stop Cafe, known far and wide for its fun and famous fried green tomatoes. But sadly, as the railroad yards shut down and Whistle Stop became a ghost town, nothing was left but boarded-up buildings and memories of a happier time. Then one day, Bud decides to take one last trip just to see what's become of his beloved Whistle Stop. In doing so, he discovers new friends as well as surprises about Idgie's life, about Ninny Threadgood, and other beloved Fanny Flagg characters, and about the town itself. He also sets off a series of events both touching and inspiring, which change his life and the lives of his daughter and many others. A real feel-good, wonderful book club selection.
A witty and profound story about family in all its strange forms, Memorial is the debut novel from rising literary star Brian Washington. What happens when a love story collides with the limits of love, and everyone has an opinion? Benson and Mike are two young guys who live together in Houston. Mike is a Japanese-American chef at a Mexican restaurant, and Benson's a black daycare teacher. And they've been together for a few years now, really good years. But now they're not sure why they're still a couple. What happens when their love story collides with the limits of love? It's a story with real sex. It's a rom-com with teeth. The author has called it a gay slacker dramedy. It's highly recommended for readers of The Mothers and White Teeth. And Memorial has already garnered starred reviews from Publishers Weekly and Kirkus Reviews. And the blurbs from the writer and author community keep pouring in from the likes of Jacqueline Woodson, Ocean Vuong, Tommy Orange, and Kylie Reed. And wonderful news already about the audio edition will be read by the author himself, which I think is always really special to hear the author's voice.
Kelly, I think you're muted. Thank you. Sorry. I muted because my dog was barking.
It's appropriate for this book, though.
It is, right? Next up for me is a fun one to talk about. It's Secret Santa from the best-selling author of Hope Never Dies. They are describing us as The Office meets The Shining. In this horror comedy about a holiday gift exchange gone wrong, set at a publishing house in the 1980s. After a half-decade editing some of the biggest names in horror, Lucy Myers joins prestigious Blackwood Patterson to kickstart their new horror imprint. Her co-workers seem less than thrilled. Ever since the illustrious Xavier Blackwood died at his party boy son took over, and things around the office have been changing, and nobody really is happy with it. When Leslie receives a creepy gnome doll as part of the company's annual holiday gift exchange, it verifies that she's long suspected. Her coworkers think she's a joke. No one there takes her seriously, even if she's the one whose books are keeping the company afloat. What happens after the doll's arrival is no joke. Without explanation, Lucy's coworkers begin to drop like flies. A heart attack here, food poisoning there. One of her authors and closest friends sees the telltale signs of supernatural forces at play, stemming from the gnome sitting quietly on Lucy's shelf. The only question is, does Lucy want to stop it from working its magic? So Secret Santa will be fun, a perfect book for around the holidays, especially if you go back to work.
Next we have from the best-selling author of The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, an uplifting novel about two women with nothing in common who trek across the world in search of a beetle that may not exist and end up discovering a friendship that defies all boundaries. Rachel Joyce is cherished by readers for her ability to write heartwarming, uplifting love stories. For the first time here, her topic is that other great love story, female friendship. London in 1950 is still reeling from World War II, and Marjorie Benson, a schoolmarm and spinster, is trying to get through life living on scraps. One day, she just reaches her breaking point, abandoning her job and small existence to set out on an expedition to the other side of the world in search of her childhood obsession, an insect that may or may not exist, the golden beetle of New Caledonia. When she advertises for an assistant to accompany her, the woman she ends up with is the last person she had in mind. Fun-loving Enid Pretty in her tight-fitting pink suit and pom-pom sandals seems to attract trouble wherever she goes. But together, these two British ladies find themselves drawn into a cross-ocean adventure that exceeds all expectations and delivers something neither of them expected to find, the transformative power of friendship. Places in the Hands of Readers of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine and The Summer Before the War. And we don't have any audio news yet about this title, but a reminder that Oscar-winning actor Jim Broadbent narrates the unlikely pilgrimage of Harold Fry and is always a great way to revisit a backlist title.
She is one of my favorite authors. I'm so excited for this book.
Oh, and in The Garden of Spite by Norwegian writer Camilla Bruce, we have an audacious novel of feminine rage about one of the most prolific female serial killers in American history. I didn't even know she existed. And also about the men who drove her to do it. We have Belle Gunness, the Black Widow of LaPorte. They whisper about her in Chicago. Men come to her with their hopes, their dreams, and their fortunes. But no one sees them leave. No one sees them at all, in fact, after they come to call on the widow of LaPorte. The good people of Indiana may have their suspicions, but if those fools knew what she'd given up, what was taken from her, how she'd suffered, surely they'd understand. Belle Gunness learned a long time ago that a woman has to make her own way in the world, and that's all it is. This is a bloody means to an end, a glorious enterprise meant to raise her from the bleak, colorless drudgery of her childhood to the life she deserves. After all, vermin are always survivors. Thanks to an episode of the popular podcast, My Favorite Murder, Belle Gunness has a devoted and passionate cult following, and she's also known by the nicknames the Black Widow of LaPorte and Hell's Bells. Belle's demoralized feminism reads like a vengeful, fictionalized Devil in the White City, told in the vein of See What I Have Done. And it's highly recommended already by New York Times bestselling author Deanna Rayburn, who says, In the Garden of Spite is a chilling, pitch-perfect novel that should really make Belle Gunness a household name, a superb and unforgettable read. I can't wait to read this one. What does that say about me?
And now we have the Liar's Dictionary, in which I learned a new word. The word is Mount Weasel. It's a noun. It's the phenomenon of false entries within dictionaries and works of reference, often used as a safeguard against copyright infringement. Peter Winsworth, Victorian lexicographer, I did it, is toiling away at the letter S for Swansby's multi-volume encyclopedic dictionary. His disaffection compels him to insert unauthorized fictitious entries into the dictionary in an attempt to assert some sense of individual purpose and artistic freedom. In the present day, Mallory, a young intern employed by the publisher, is tasked with uncovering these Mount Weasels before the work is digitized. She also has to contend with threatening phone calls from an anonymous caller who is upset about changing definitions. As these two narratives combine, both Winsworth and Mallory discover how they might negotiate the complexities of the often nonsensical, relentless, untrustworthy, hoax-strewn, and undefinable path that we call life. This is a great book for people who love books like Ella Minnow P. It's just a real love letter to people who love words and language. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for your time. We hope you found something that you would love to read.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.